Okay, so Boruto Chapter 67 has just been released. We have a lot of new information that we got to cover in this one. So definitely, if you guys like more videos like this, if you guys like more manga reviews and more power scaling, more of that type of stuff, definitely be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's jump straight into it. So basically, if you haven't been catching up with the Boruto manga, last chapter we kind of left off on quite a bit of a cliffhanger, and I kind of said this could go two ways. This could either go in the way that they could keep Boruto as being dead, or immediately bring him back, because I said that they tend to do that in a lot of anime, and it seems like they did kind of do that this time, right? So anyways, it kind of opens off with Naruto obviously being a little bit upset over the death of Boruto, or the seeming death of Boruto. Code is kind of taken aback by this, because obviously this was not according to plan at all. And Ida makes it very clear, she's very adamant on the fact that she does not want Kawashiki to be used as a sacrifice, because obviously since Boruto seems to be dead, the obvious choice would now be Kawashiki. So anyways, Code tries to make his little great escape as a little sly weasel, but the Sukuna Hikono that Kawashiki now has access to allows him to shrink the claw marks that Code has created. And he kind of manhandles Code for a series of panels, right? It's very, very clear that Kawashiki is blatantly outscales Code with his limiters on. Even though we do know that without his limiters, he should be above Jougan. Obviously, he would be above Kawashiki using his karma. But with his limiters, it seems like he's not really, Code isn't really a threat here. So he's just definitely bringing it to him. And we bounce back a couple of times back and forth with Naruto and Shikamaru. They have a very interesting dialogue that we kind of see as while Kawaki's kind of just destroying Code. And Naruto's basically having a mental breakdown, and Shikamaru's trying to tell him to snap out of it. He notices that Naruto's focus is off, his sage mode has come off, and he's not really focusing. And he ultimately tells him that, you know, they gotta do something right now, they gotta help Kawashiki finish Code. Naruto's not really listening. Tells him to snap out of it, he's the Hokage, remember, you know, and that Boruto kind of chose to do this to himself. So, as this is happening, we're seeing that Kawashiki essentially has access to all of the abilities that Jigen had before. The Sukuna Ikona, he's able to use those rods, he's able to use the big cubes as well. And Kawashiki goes on to state that if he's willing to sacrifice his own brother to save Lord 7th, so what do you think he would do to Code, basically? So he gets ready to throw a little big bang attack here, and Code does something very interesting that we didn't really know he could actually do. He kind of, that little patch over the middle of his forehead is actually like another claw mark that he has access to, like a little portal. He shoves his hand through his head, and he pulls Daemon out to protect himself from Kawaki's attacks. Obviously, he's not physically able to do it himself. But with this, Shikamaru immediately notices, like, hey, he's actually working with other people, which was speculated before when he saw that Code was talking to some people like Ida. But now Konoha has an idea of who exactly they're up against and what type of ability they have, because obviously Daemon has one of the most OP abilities in the verse, and just being able to reflect any attack subconsciously. But I'm sure somehow that's going to end up coming back to bite him. Naruto and Kawashiki continue to have their little discussion here. It lasts a couple of pages. So basically, Naruto's on the side of, hey, Kawaki's part of my family, and he may have killed Boruto, but it wasn't really his fault. He had no ill intent behind it. And Shikamaru is more focused on, like, we got to focus on our responsibilities. This is going to make us look really bad for the village, and a lot of people don't like him anyways. It's very easy to get lost on one specific side of this altercation, as they both have some pretty reasonable points here. Obviously, Naruto doesn't want Kawashiki to go through, like, what Sasuke did by, like, completely being exiled, especially when he's not naturally ill-willed. And that is when we see the biggest plot twist, and I say that very loosely here, is obviously we knew that Boruto's gonna come back. The show is literally called Boruto, but anyways, yeah, Boruto kind of jumps back to life and says, you know, who died? You know, I'm back. So, yep, I guess this is one of those things where they just think you think you're gonna die one chapter, they're back the next. Saw it coming a little bit, not gonna lie. They could have stretched this out a little bit longer, and it would have been more interesting to see the emotional impacts that it had on the other characters and more of the lasting impacts, and see if it actually did anything. But this does lead us to some very, very interesting information that we do get here, and that is that Momoshiki first of all appears between Boruto again and kind of explains what just happened, right? Because this was obviously not intentional, this little mini resuscitation. So essentially Momoshiki goes on to state that Boruto is his prized possession, so he obviously does not want him to be killed, so he had to heal him, but in order to heal him he had to use part of the karma, and as we know, the karma was already about over 80% complete. At this point it was about 82% extracted, which means that about 18% still needed to finish extracting extracting of his DNA before he could reincarnate himself into Boruto's body, but because part of his lung and part of his heart was completely destroyed, he had to use his own Otsutsuki data to rewrite some of Boruto's body, essentially making it impossible for him to reincarnate himself into Boruto, because he already used the last 18% to rewrite it into Boruto's own data, if that kind of makes sense. So obviously that means that Momoshiki can't come back, which is a win, which is definitely a win so far, which is that Boruto has his own little separate karma design going on, because he has been revived like this. He has the karma mark on in the middle of his chest as well. Very interesting. But there's always a twist. There's always a little caveat to these types of things. Momoshiki goes on to state that because he did that, because he used that remaining 18% that was going to finish extracting for himself, but he put it into Boruto and rewritten into his own DNA, Boruto is now a full, complete, genuine Otsutsuki. He's not Momoshiki. Don't get that wrong. Don't get that twisted. He's not Momoshiki, but he's a full Otsutsuki now, like in his DNA. Which means that he should, realistically, moving forward, have access to more Otsutsuki stuff, more Otsutsuki abilities that are more unique to them, like the karma, being able to plant karma on other people, and something else which we're going to talk about in 1 second. But before I talk about that, I just wanted to mention that Momoshiki also does warn him that now that he's a complete Otsutsuki, he is completely ready to be sacrificed to the 10 Tails, and Code will soon notice that as his little warning to Boruto. Obviously, that warning goes on deaf ears. Boruto doesn't really care. But here's the part we've all been waiting for, the Jougan, right? Boruto goes back to a statement that Momoshiki told him a while ago, that beware those blue eyes shall eventually take everything from you, right? Obviously, this is most likely foreshadowing the Jougan, as he's probably not talking about his normal eyes. And we haven't really seen the Jougan really too much mentioned in the manga until this point. We did see some appearances here and there, but obviously it has not really been a focal point. But it does look like something that they were going to kind of come back to, and I think this is that. Now that he's fully Otsutsuki, we're going to be seeing more of those premonitions involving the blue eyes in the Jougan. I'm very, very excited. Boruto asked him kind of what he meant by that, and that he already died, and if that's what he meant, but Momoshiki says, nope, it's nothing like that. Those blue eyes will take everything from you. And we kind of leave off the chapter there, with Code kind of retreating, Naruto, Shikamaru, and Boruto, Kawaki kind of just chilling there. I don't really know what they're gonna do with Kawaki moving forward, but it looks like Naruto does not have any ill will. So the main takeaway here is that Boruto is now an Otsutsuki. He now should have more control over himself and his karma, I guess, because Momoshiki cannot reincarnate himself into Boruto. So I guess we're just gonna see him freely wielding the karma later on. And Kawaki obviously having his own karma as well, and it's pretty self-evident that Kawaki's, much like how we initially anticipated, 80% of Ishiki is way stronger than 80% of Momoshiki, and that became very clear when you see the two kind of face off against one another. Kawaki was just quite simply superior. So anyways, besides that, there's not a whole lot else to cover here. That's pretty much it. Very, very exciting chapter. Let me know what you guys think below. There's definitely gonna be more videos coming out this week. If you guys like more videos like this, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.